So my friends and I decided to make a server and try to survive on it. However, some of my friends are new to the game, so them surviving 100 days is basically impossible. Because of that, we made a list of 50 challenges to complete by the end of the 100 days, and if I don't complete them, Hey Chris, what do I need to do if I don't complete the 50 challenges in the 100 days?
How about you eat a foot-long tuna guac marinara sandwich from Subway?
Anyways, I'll have to eat that sandwich if I don't complete the 50 challenges, and let's begin. We start off on the character creator, and to intimidate my fellow cavemen, I made sure the girth of my neck was respectable, and now pure neck is ready to start. I wake up in the early morning and I immediately find civilization. However, the only life form is this creepypasta pteranodon and barely rendered moss chop called... To avoid demonetization, I moved on and found some floating numbers. I then intimidated that person with the pure muscle of my neck. After dominating my target in a staring contest, I finally started gathering berries and soon made a pickaxe. Pure neck may be strong, but is even stronger with a pickaxe. With the pickaxe, I made some tools and clothes, but then I found my first foe. I have a 10% chance of making this thing mad. The bird was too high of a level, so I had to flee. I mean, I spared its life so I could tame it later, and instead I sacrificed this poor dinosaur. However, this bird meant war. I readied my spear and engaged it in battle. The thing was pesky, but I ended the battle with a precise throw to the head. I continued my journey through the forest, and after a close call, I found a level 150 Phiomia. While I prepared to dominate the creature, a friendly boatman showed up and we made friends. We then teamed up to tame that level 150 Phiomia. By taming this level 150 Phiomia, I completed 2 of the 50 challenges on the challenge list. Now, I haven't talked too much about the challenge list yet, but there are some easy achievements like taming a raptor, but there are also some harder ones like taming a rock golem. I may already have 2 of the challenges done, but we are a long way from some of the harder ones. I named the Phiomia Dom since my friend Dom likes Phiomias. We then rafted over to Chris's base of operations. I met their current dinosaurs and I kinda questioned their architecture. Who put the ramp down here? I spent the rest of the day gathering materials, and then we went to bed. I woke up the next day to find that Chris stayed up all night collecting resources to make a pirate ship. However, he was too tired and went to bed. I started building the ship, but I was rudely interrupted.
Enemy spotted.
Yep. Why? Bird fight! Bird fight!
Actually, you aren't too far from me. Well, you are, but I mean, it's dinosaur.
To the third one. I spent the rest of the day building the boat, and after a close encounter with a raptor, I met the mysterious man sleeping in Chris's house. He bowed down to my majestic neck, and we finished up the pirate ship. I also knocked out a bird for absolutely no reason and forgot about him. I swear to God. I then spent all of day 3 trying to make a sail that looks good on the pirate ship, but yeah, that didn't work. What is funny about this is that, in the end, Zach ended up changing the sail because mine looked sad. We finished up the boat, and I decided to name it after the raft that picked me up on day 1.
Bruh.
I now have completed the pirate ship challenge. After 2 long days of working on the boat, I decided it was time for me to sleep for the night. And then I woke up to Noah's Ark on my front door. Apparently, Zach decided to make an ark while I was asleep to transport all their animals. We then crossed a river to pick up a specimen that looks very similar to my Phiomia. Okay, Dom, welcome to Noah's Ark.
I'm your host, Noah.
We went back home and I realized that I completely forgot about that pteranodon I knocked out, and Chris apparently named it. We started to load up the ark, but I decided to get one of the challenges done first.
I figured if I punched you, it worked.
Large.
Stop. Stop it. Stop it.
We then killed off a few of our unwanted dinosaurs and headed out. I manned the small boat while my friends followed me on the ark. This is when our hatred of whales started.
That's a whale.
Go to the shore. Our dinosaurs are impassive, right?
Why does it look like a turd?
We then spent long hours on the water with the intent on finding a base location. However, we decided to make a pit stop back at the spawn point to find some of our tribe's lost dinos.
Look, it was the other ref that we placed down, Zach. Remember that we had 2 over here?
It's it's one of our missing dinosaurs. Get him!
Oh yeah, we have God the Listro, remember him?
Chris found his pet dog called God the Listosaur, and then we realized that we were only missing 1 dinosaur. and Chris found it shortly after. Chris, have you ever seen God do a backflip?
That
Really
sounds like
amazing.
something they would do to, like, promote Christianity.
Hey Dom, can you help God up the stairs?
Oh, I found him!
Oh, what is it?
Parasus!
Wait, Parasus is alive?
Oh my god, that's the last.
found him! Actually serious.
That's the last thing. That's the last thing I expect you to say. Chris ended up finding his level 19 Parasaur vibing in the water, so we led them back to the boat and headed out. Since this is our first time playing on the map, we had no idea where we wanted to build a base, but it is pretty well known that there is a castle in the middle of the redwoods, so we decided to go there. Even though it wasn't my first choice for a base location, my friends insisted we rafted over there, so we decided to check it out anyways. Early on day 6, I decided to go AFK for a moment and let Chris drive the raft. However, Moby Dick and the school bullies had a different idea. How's the driving going?
About the same. We're about to go over the pass of where the whale was at, but
The whale's
the devil.
Oh my god, turn to the left.
I'm being
Go
whaled.
back.
oh my god.
Really?
Wailed.
Guys,
Wailed.
why'd you go straight towards the whales? So yeah, the SS Stat Boy had a short lifespan of about 3 days. Luckily, the Ark's Ark was in the back, so it was able to get away. It actually was very fortunate that the SS Stat Boy was destroyed over the big boat. After a short rescue mission, we continued our journey with one less boat.
I mean, I can drive, but if anyone else wants to...
Here's the deal, not Chris. The rest of day 6 was entirely about rafting across the map. You can tell the pirate life was not for us as we started to get a rat infestation and we were going crazy. Don't restock. There we good. Things are invading the boat! We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that how many we have? We're missing a parasaur.
Are we missing? Paras!
We're missing Parasus! What'd you guys do to him? Where?
Don't point. What the? Shut up.
Where is Parasus? Also, at some point on the journey, Parasus fell off the boat, so now they were lost again. Do not worry though, because we'll find them. In a few days. On day 7, we arrived at the swamp. We crossed the first section of it, but we quickly realized that we were massively unprepared, and the only dinosaur that we could do anything with was our level 250 Carno named Chicken Nugget. After watching through the footage, I still don't know when we got this thing. Apparently Chris tamed it and named it Chicken Nugget, so I guess we have a high level Carno now. The thing literally just showed up on the boat one day, and I'm not complaining because I'm pretty sure we'd be dead without him. Later that day, we explored the castle and we realized we weren't really even sure if we wanted to live there. It doesn't matter though, because at the moment, we weren't even strong enough to get to the castle in the first place. That same night, we got some metal and I completed the full Flak with the sword challenge and the metal tool challenge. I spent most of day 8 grinding out narcotics to tame a high-level Rex to get through the swamp. Unfortunately, I could not find any good Rexes and Zach's PlayStation broke, so we had to wait a bit. Could you turn off your PlayStation, maybe? Not the most convenient answer, but... Oh, bye! Zach, can you hear me? Zach? Just eating something. He's like eating some pretzels. After you turned off your PlayStation, I was trying to get your attention, but I couldn't. I could just hear you eating like some chips. After a whole day of waiting, searching, and resource gathering, day 9 felt much more productive. First off, we had a war drum. I personally think that my neck was enough to intimidate people, but I guess my tribe mates aren't as intimidating. While continuing my search, I saw the dinosaur version of Scooby-Doo, and over there was a level 162 Tech Raptor. I knocked it out and called it Iron Man. I now completed the Tech Dino Challenge and the Raptor Challenge. I decided to try and kill a low poly Diplodocus, but first I had to kill this Sarco. I continued attacking the Diplo, but then 2 more Sarcos materialized. I decided that I was able to take them, but then when I turned around, there was a 3rd one! On top of that, this yellow frog joined in. So basically, I had to retreat because I tried to kill a Diplo, but then a Sarco showed up. And then another one. And then another one. And then another one! And then a frog! My Pteranodon nearly died, so I decided to heal it up, but then the frog had other plans.
Oh Lord, he coming!
Day 9 was a pretty productive day, so day 10 was entirely devoted to finding a base location. We explored all the custom structures on the map, and there was no clear decision on the base location. However, we started to think about moving over to the Winter Castle. I started flying over there, and I realized that I was next to the Ice Wyvern Pit. I think we all know where this is gonna go. As per tradition, I started making the Wyvern Fallout Bunker. For some reason, whenever we go and get Wyvern eggs, something always goes wrong, so we always make a bunker just in case. On day 11, we went back to our raft across the map and made some extra tranks. The plan was to tame an Argentavis while we were here, but without a trap, it didn't work that well. After healing through the night, we realized that the pit was absolutely filled with wyverns. However, we were not going to leave empty-handed after 2 days, and after some coercion and a death, I was able to get the egg off of Zach's body. Since we moved the wyverns earlier, none chased me out of there. I saw another nest while I was there, and we ended up fighting a level 150 ice wyvern egg. We got out of there pretty easily since apparently the wyverns don't care about their children. Until they did and attacked us in the wyvern fallout bunker. The wyvern did eventually lose aggro, and we attempted to get one more egg, but we started freezing to death and we had to go back. On our way back though, a Magnamur attacked us. Shut door? Shut door? Shut! I don't care which door you shut! Oh, thank you! You shut the door. I'm stuck at the ceiling. It's dark.
It was 135.
Oh my god, that's so cursed. Ah, there we go. Alright, we've done it.
That was... Sure.
Eventually the Managmer went away and we were able to escape. Or so we thought. Oh! Oh! It's following us! It's there! It's under us! Oh! Oh! It's trying to get us. Do you want to just try and kill it? Get ready to whistle neutral. Okay, whistle neutral.
It's neutral.
Kill it!
Oh, it's dead.
Is it?
Dead.
Good.
It's might die from the bleed.
What was the point in that? Is it gone?
No.
Oh,
Oh yeah, it's dead.
thank God! After we killed it, we secured the eggs at the base. I spent the rest of day 13 and 14 taming a Pteranodon for everyone and gathering a bunch of chitin in the desert. Also, at the beginning of day 15, Chris and I went and found Parasus, but apparently I forgot to record that, but there they are! Parasus is safe and sound! I then helped Chris tame an Ankylosaurus in the mountains. While I was there, Zach needed some oil, so I went on a crusade across the lands to go find some oil. I went to the winter biome, couldn't see, started dying, healed up, left, went to Venezuela, then stole their oil. During this time, Zach was rafting across the map and passed by some high-level stegos. We grinded up a bunch of tranks, used a trap for once, and then knocked out a level 180 tech stego. While waiting, a wild cinema crops appeared, and after some Dilophosaur purging, I got it tamed. I now completed the passively tame a dinosaur and tame a cinema crops challenge. And shortly after, the tame the stego challenge was done too. On day 18, we passed the Magmasaur area and finally got back to spawn again where we planned to park the boat and live in the castle. As a quick spoiler alert though, we don't end up living in the ice castle. During day 19 and 20, we moved a ton of our stuff into the castle and even started building in the main area. However, as we were grinding for pelt and for armor, something just felt off. We had some build ideas, but living up there felt so inconvenient and the pre-built structures felt terrible to build in. To waste some time, I went out drop hunting to think about our final base location. It was already day 20, so we had to decide fast. While I was out, I found a low-level Alpha Raptor and managed to complete the Kill an Alpha challenge. During my drop collecting spree, I obviously looted a red drop, so I also completed the red drop challenge. After a full day of exploring for the final time, I had an idea. For those who haven't watched the Hobbit movies before, there is a town called Lake Town. That is, well, a town on a lake.
Your wife would look lovely in this.
Since we have already been on a boat for 20% of the 100 days already, I felt it fitting that we established a lake town. Now this, on day 22, will be our final base location. Now it is time to pack up for the last time and raft over there. Wells! I spent day 23 transferring stuff and gathering material since building on water takes a lot of resources. We're getting to the point in the 100 days where there's just a lot of grinding, so if I start speedrunning through the days like I have been doing, it is so I can get to the more entertaining days. Day 24 was entirely spent on getting the foundation down for the docks and creating a 2-roomed house. Or at least it would have been entirely dedicated, but I saw a whale stalking our boat, so I went over and killed it, finally getting revenge for SS Dat Boy 20 days ago. Also on the challenge list, it says to create a 2-roomed house and a 5-roomed house, so I didn't spend that long decorating the 2-roomed house since I would be upgrading it eventually. The building bled into day 25, and since I didn't really feel like doing anything afterwards, I gathered extra supplies so someone else could build something. And those building supplies were short-lived as I woke up to Zach starting on his compact 5-roomed house. Zach, Zachary, and I decided we were going to go tame a few Argentavises today, so, unlike last time we tried to tame one, we actually built a trap this time! However, we couldn't even get it into the trap because it decided it wanted to shove its face into a tree. We then knocked it out. Just when we thought we wouldn't need the trap, Zach then trapped another Argentavis in the trap. We spent so long looking for a third high-level Argy that the two we were taming finished taming. Sadly, we started freezing and the area became infested, so we took them home, and on day 27 we started heading back to the snow biome, but...
How's it going?
I went out to go get some prime meat, but after taking a beating, I decided to go check on the Tapahara and...
Do you think the egg would be a higher level from those parents? But
It's the second time you've done this, you failure. I sadly just decided to kill it, which in hindsight I probably shouldn't have, but I've tamed so many low-level Tapaharas that I just wanted a higher one. Speaking of high levels, Zach got a level 185 Ice Wyvern egg while we were taming the Argentavises and started an incubation circle. I then butted in and threw my child in there. The rest of the day was spent getting spark powder, and I kidnapped someone in my attic. The kidnapped person promised to get wyvern eggs with me if I let them go, so I released them and we started getting supplies to go on a wyvern run. One of the challenges is to get one of each type of wyvern, so I had to get a fire, lightning, and poison wyvern since I already owned an ice wyvern. During day 28, we had enough of the supplies that we started making our way to the wyvern pit. Now before anyone starts taking notes, we decided to change up our approach on how we get wyverns, so let's just say this wasn't the best trap idea ever. This trap wasn't the most effective, so good thing we always make a wyvern fallout bunker. Ooh, I don't know if they can fit through that. Oh, I'm being... Oh, nap time. Oh, I'm dead.
You are?
Yeah. There's a wyvern.
Oh.
Whistle, pull the wall. Whistle, pull the wall. I can't even see it. Oh, the basilisk! I apparently was attacked by a basilisk that I couldn't even see. When I got back, I quickly finished the bunker, but it did lose aggro. I don't even know where it is. Where'd it go? While I was adding onto the wyvern wall, though, it did see me. It started attacking the fallout bunker, but since its head was through the wall, I realized we could just kill it through the wall. We then finished up the wall, and the trap was done. The plan was to lure the wyverns into the trap by grabbing the eggs, and then killing it. We found a level 90 lightning wyvern egg and got it out of there without any trouble. We found another egg, but there was a wyvern puppy guarding it, so I dropped Chris on top of it while I distracted the wyvern, but they killed him anyways. We did get the wyvern into the trap, however. Since it was a very low level, we knocked it out and killed it with our Pteranodon for XP. We tried the exact same strategy, and the same thing happened, but this time we trapped a level 170 poison wyvern. We again knocked it out and killed it for XP. This time we were able to grab the egg without a casualty and trap another wyvern. Since we got one type of each egg, we headed out, but don't worry too much if you wanted to see more wyvern action, because we will be back since a few challenges require it. We came back home to Zach finishing his house, which looked quite nice, and the main crafting area getting started. It was now day 31, and I pretty much just gathered a bunch of materials for cryopods, and then made them at a drop. Day 32 started off with my ice wyvern hatching, and the rest of the day was dedicated to gathering various materials since Zach built a dino pen and a dino breeding area. However, after I took a quick nap, Chris, your wyvern just knocked me out. I saw a Tapahara that I wanted flying in the sky. Now I don't know why, but I thought it'd be a great idea to try and bola the thing out of the sky. There is a way easier way to do this, but I want it to be flashy and hit a mid-air bola. Oh! I didn't realize I hit it on the first bola. Eventually I did hit the Tapahara, and... When I tried to knock it out, it flew away before I could knock it out. To make it even worse, I finally gave in and I used rare flowers, but because of its torpidity being so low, it kept running away from me. However, after a lot of trial and error, its torpidity eventually went down enough, and I was able to use rare flowers to bola the creature and knock it out. The reason I wanted a Tapahara was for one of the challenges later. I named the Tapahara White Blood Cell because I started getting a bloody nose while trying to knock it out. On day 35, I went to the swamp to kill leeches, but also to get a little gift for someone. Alright, time to spread it. The reason that I am at the swamp was to get chitin and to get a cinema crust for Zach. However, I decided to be a little mischievous and get swamp fever to complete one of the challenges. Did I give it to him? And then of course, I cured it. It was now day 36, and we now had an industrial forge and grill. Zach also started constructing a wyvern pen area, but we never ended up finishing it. During this time, I was watching my ice wyvern to make sure that it would grow up without starving. With the rates on the server, my high-level wyvern shouldn't starve, but on PlayStation, the game sometimes glitches out, and your wyvern will start starving when they become unrendered, so we were bound to stay online until it grew up. Anyways, I started gathering materials, as you always do in Ark, and I realized we needed some cementing paste. I went over to a beaver area and raided some beaver dams, but also found this level 90 beaver. I waited for a while and it eventually tamed. I named it Isaac. Just when I was about to leave, though, I saw this. After I chopped off a crocodile's tail, I saw a fish doing a handstand and then the beaver tamed. Now we had 2 decent beavers to collect wood for us. Day 38 was back on the grind for gunpowder, metal, and wood. At this point we realized we needed a mass amount of electronics, so on day 39, I went to various locations across the map to get silica pearls and massacred some leeches for the rest of them. I also got swamp fever again. RIP. At some point I found 3 alpha raptors all in one place, so that was cool. We didn't get anything good though. On the morning of day 40, Frosty wanted to be hand-fed, so I put him in a ball. Now he wanted to be pet. Good Frosty. Using the electronics we got, we were able to complete a chemistry bench. Frosty did grow up that day, and I now had my first wyvern completing the wyvern challenge. After one last metal round, we had quite a few tranks, so it was now time to go back to the wyvern pit. The reason we needed to go back to the wyvern pit was to get the extra eggs for a basilisk, and we needed to get wyvern milk without the help of a flyer. My attic friend Chris immediately went into a coma, so I went alone. I found a lightning wyvern egg and decided to steal it. I trapped the wyvern that was following me and used my new wyvern to kill it. At least I would have killed it if I was smart enough to shut the door. Oh, the door isn't shut. Oh. Good thing I outspeed the thing. Is it gonna follow me to Narnia though is the question? Luckily I was simply able to fly away from it, but now a level 160 poison wyvern was terrorizing the area. Continuing on, I found another lightning wyvern egg and decided to grab it. I then saw the mother of the lightning wyverns and decided to fight it. That was not a smart idea. I then remembered that I needed to do the wyvern milk without a flyer challenge, and this would have been the perfect opportunity, but it's a little too late now because I'm on my Pteranodon. After way too close of a call, oh, drag me in! Drag me inside! Chris woke up from his coma and the lightning wyvern left. Now where's the wyvern? Did it fly away? Go inside. After a little bit of antagonizing, we managed to get the wyvern into the trap. Now I know I used a Pteranodon earlier, but the wyvern flew away and we brought it back without a flyer. So we decided to count it as getting wyvern milk without a flyer because we didn't use a flyer to get it into the trap or knock it out. We got the wyvern milk and drank it to complete the Get a Wyvern Milk challenge. We started packing up our stuff, and this happened. What is that? Why are there 7s? A Magmasaur apparently didn't like us being in its territory, so we decided to leave since we pretty much got everything we needed. Sadly, I didn't know there was Magmasaurs on this map until after I made the challenge list, so we won't be getting a Magmasaur in this playthrough. On day 42, we pretty much just grinded out materials for an air conditioner and electric stuff in general, but it honestly was a waste of time since I just ended up using standing torches anyways. We decided to start hatching the 3 eggs we had so they wouldn't spoil. While those started hatching, we did the generic farming and finally got around to transporting all our dinosaurs to the main base. That whole time we only had about half our original dinosaurs. Day 43 was spent expanding Lake Town, but then we remembered that there was a Giga near our base. Now, rather than letting that Giga run wild, we decided to use our tranks we've been saving up to knock it out. We searched for a long time and couldn't find it, but I eventually accidentally landed next to it. What is funny about this is that the Giga was stuck trying to eat something, so we were able to get a ton of tranks into it for free. After a while, it got tired of trying to eat something and started running away. We now had to deal with a Giga trying to run away from us, but we shot it so many times that it didn't take long for it to go down. Cucumber the Giga. We now tamed a Giga. We're gonna put a base there. And then he just... Later on day 44, Chris and I went out to finally tame some Rexes. We first found this level 140 female Rex, and after we knocked it out, we found a level 130 male Rex next to it. We then knocked the other one out, and we had a decent starting pair of Rexes. I also had them kill something together, so I completed another challenge. Something I have to mention real quick is that this was recorded on a server, which meant that we had to feed our dinosaurs for whenever we were gone. Well, I miscalculated how long he'd be gone for, and when I got home from work, the fire wyvern starved. The other two wyverns were also very low on hunger. So you know what that means, we gotta go back to the wyvern pit again. On day 45, we went down to the wyvern pit again and got some wyvern milk to feed the two baby wyverns. We ended up staying longer to get a fire wyvern egg, and after killing a few wyverns, Frosty almost died to a magmasaur, but Chris luckily saved it. With enough effort, we did find another low-level fire egg, but we didn't want to test our luck in the pit after Frosty almost died, so we didn't bother looking for a high-level one. Before we continue, between about day 46 and day 54, my capture card broke and everything looked blurry. Luckily, I didn't do anything super duper important during these times, so I'll be quick on these days. On day 46, I started building the 5-roomed house. I also started hatching the fire wyvern. On day 47, I continued building and we attempted to get a Uteranus and failed. Between day 48 and 50, I started mating our Rexes and kept grinding materials to build the house. I also created some farm plots to start on farming vegetables. Around day 51, the house was complete and I just needed to decorate it. I started by placing a beer barrel to get the beer challenge done, but we will have to check on that later since it takes a long time to craft beer. On day 52, I put some lights in the house and just continued grinding. Now I may not be wearing my glasses, but on day 53 I saw a flying fish. Darn. Okay, we're back to normal. What? Good, thank God this isn't a hardcore world. Anyways, I think it is about time we do the kibble challenges. I spent the rest of day 53 refreshing on all the kibble related stuff and started working on it. The first kibble I made was exceptional kibble since that is just what I had already. I do need to make one of each kibble for the challenge, so let's continue. But first, let's go on a side quest. There is a quest that requires you to sacrifice 10 dodos to a T-Rex, so I started creating my army of 144p resolution dodos to send to war. After I got my brave warriors, I mated them because we all know baby dodos are superior in battle. When the eggs hatched, I somehow got a mutation on one of them. I decided to keep that dodo just in case anything went wrong. The dodos readied their beaks and we went to go fight the T-Rex. Eventually I found one, a level 140 Alpha Rex. This is possibly one of the hardest Rexes we could have found. My new army was up for the biggest challenge of their lives. However, they had to face it head on. I got the attention of the Rex and it headed straight for us. The battle started off bad. Multiple dodos perished immediately. For a moment the Rex was stuck, but then as I shot it, it slayed 4 more of my troops. But then, this happened, Oh my god, they're doing it again. Their fellow brethrens have fallen, but that level 74 dodo will do it. What a champion. As I looked upon the battlefield of dead dodos, one lone dodo was 1v1ing the level 140 Alpha Rex, doing 10 damage a second. At this rate, we could kill the Alpha in like 30 minutes to an hour. I legit sat there for about 10 minutes to see if anything would change, but the battle kept going. This is when I realized that my footage was blurry and I fixed it. Oh my god, the Giga's right here. So I really wanted to spend another hour of my life watching this dodo kill an Alpha Rex, but unfortunately the Giga interrupted, so I decided to end the battle. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It got a hit off. Oh no. It's not killing the Chad dodo down there. The Giga will be down here soon. And I cannot stop a Giga. It's over. There's only 2 troops left. Oh, it's over. It got him. Dang. How close? Well, it obviously wasn't close, but dang. At least they made it bleed. I think that's good enough. All jokes aside though, I did complete the 10 dodos versus the Rex challenge. But I was shocked, they actually managed to do some serious damage. They made the Rex bleed. If I didn't shoot that first time, I think the Alpha would have been much closer to dying. Also, the baby dodo starved before getting to the battlefield, so only the mutated dodo lived. Since I didn't waste all of my day 55 watching dodos kill an Alpha Rex, I was able to make some basic kibble and grab some obsidian. Throughout the 100 days, I will be breeding Rexes to try and get a mutation, so I will update you guys if anything interesting happens. I made simple kibble on day 56, and then on day 57, while I was getting resources, I knocked out and tamed a level 150 female Rex. In order to make extraordinary kibble, I needed an egg that would work in the crafting recipe. Sadly, the wyvern eggs we had left over ended up spoiling, so I went and grabbed another wyvern egg on day 58. I then realized that I didn't have an egg for regular kibble, so I got Chris's Pelagornis, our girlfriend. I then made the superior kibble because I realized I could. I needed to raid a beehive for the extraordinary kibble, so I went to the redwoods to do that. Why? There we go. Ah! I did eventually find a beehive that wasn't glitching out and got some honey. I then made exceptional, extraordinary, and regular kibble. This now means I have completed the kibble challenges. I also should mention that the fire wyvern did grow up, so now we have completed one of each wyvern challenge also. On day 60, I made a vegetable cake since I had the ingredients and saved it for later. After doing a bunch of grinding and cooking, I felt a bit stir-crazy and decided to go out and tame a Maywing. After some paratrooper dive bombing, I was able to knock out one and tamed it. That small adventure didn't satisfy me enough, so I decided to go do the sit at the bottom of the wyvern pit for 5 minutes challenge. I decided to go sit in the middle of the ice wyvern pit because there seems to be less wyverns there. I snuck past the wyvern and set up a small base at the bottom of the wyvern pit. I set a rough timer for about 5 minutes and eventually... Oh, I think it's been 5 minutes now. Well, we made it out, it looks like. I don't know where the wyvern went, I just saw it over here, but... Oh, yep, there it is! Day 62 started off like any morning should with a nice cup of beer. While I was out collecting metal, I decided to tame a Dodicarus. I then went AFK and it looks like it kinda wanted a snack, and I started naming my new dinosaur without realizing that it was being murdered. I spent so long without realizing it was being attacked and I felt so bad. On day 63, I visited our oil pump and then I started filling out the entire map. However, I got bored and went home. Day 64 and 65 were dedicated to raising another batch of Rexes and building a dinosaur pen. While building the dino pen though, I hit the build limit. I asked Zach to raise the build limit, but for now, I only have this pen. Now I do complete the pen later, but for now, I put 10 dinosaurs in the area and marked off the dino pen challenge. Day 66 starts off with us going to the redwoods to get a mating pair of Thylas. I found a level 135 Thyla and dropped it in the water while I made a trap.
Hello there.
Oh! How are you back so fast? Get back in your river. Oh my god, it's lagging so bad. Let me on. Get back. You need to take your bath, kitty. I finished the pen and plopped it in there. I then knocked it out and tamed it. And if you thought one female Thyla wasn't enough, how about 2? I still needed a male, and after about 10 minutes, I finally found one. Bruh. Once the male was done, it was time to leave. When I got home, I mated the 2 Thylas for the Thylacoleo mating challenge. Day 68 rolled around and I felt like punching a Triceratops in the face. After enough fist fighting, the trike feared my neck, yeah, I didn't forget that joke, and I punched it out. I then celebrated my victory with some vegetable cake. I then threatened the nearest person to eat it, completing the vegetable cake challenge. Day 69.
Nice.
It was time to go caving. Now I'm not sure which cave I need to go through, so we just started going through this one because we also wanted some supply drops. Honestly, not much happened, so after we got the artifacts, we just killed some bugs and got out of there. We then went to the lighthouse cave, but then realized there was no artifact there. We then went to another cave and easily got the artifact again. We then hit up one more cave, but this one was a bit difficult this time. It had a few dangerous dinosaurs, so we created a dinosaur parameter. But there's one issue. Hey, let's get this one too. I mean, another one won't hurt. After we secured the water, we went into the cave. The cave was going pretty well until... please get aqua. Please get aqua. Please get aqua. I'm gonna knock out eventually. I knocked out. Nap time! Anyways, we did get the artifact after my mid-morning nap. We then sent our dinos that we randomly tamed in the battle, but they won the battle, so we let them free. You guys have earned your freedom. Enable wandering. Whistle aggressive. No, they won their freedom together. Yeah, look at them go. Day 71 was a resource gathering day, but I realized that we had an Ascendant Dodicarus saddle, so I put it on the Dodicarus. On day 72, the hard work paid off because I made a couple of shotguns and some diving gear. Our Rex army grows further as we come closer to the end of this 100 days. Still no mutations though. I then decided I wanted to try and get an artifact without the help of a dinosaur. Knowing my cave luck recently, I decided to take my chances in the ocean. All I need to do is swim down to a boat, break in, and grab the artifact. Now I'm not sure if this is going to be controversial, but I used a raft to get above the artifact. The raft counts as a tame, but the challenge said I couldn't use a dinosaur, so I think it's fine because it's a raft and not a dinosaur. After some shotgun fishing, I felt safe enough to go into the water. And after some Subnautica PTSD... Let me on! Ah! I made it into the boat and slashed the ground. The floorboards broke and the artifact was now in my hands. I then swam to the safety of my boat and hoped that the whales don't exist as I drove to shore. Also, while I was out, I visited the green obelisk as that was the last obelisk I needed to visit. I then made a set of chitin armor so I could massacre some cinema crops. Cinema Crop's murder challenge is now done. I felt like getting more challenges done, so I spent the time to fill out the entire map, and while I was near the desert, I also did the fly across to the desert challenge, and got some nice cinematic shots. On day 75, we upped the build limit, so I finished the dino pen. See, I told you I'd do that. It's sort of basic, but we only have 25 days left and 11 more challenges to do. Each time I get onto the server, I have to do a mass massacre of dinosaurs in order to feed all our dinosaurs while I was gone. But while I was out, I saw a tech Quetzal and decided to knock it out, and it landed nicely on this rock to be tamed. On day 77, I got bored of raising Rexes, so I decided to go out and tame a Brontosaurus. I found this level 140 Bronto and decided to make it my friend, but it already had a friend. So I murdered his friend, so they could be my friend.
You're my friend now.
However, they didn't want to be my friends, so I started tranquilizing them. And then we found ourselves in this hole. And then even worse, they started to become spider food. But luckily I got Frosty down there and we saved them, but they still didn't want to be my friends, so I forced them to be my friend. Anyways, we got a Bronto now. I also placed a foundation on it, so now I have built on a dinosaur. Also, I just realized that I put a skill point into each skill. Not sure when I ended up doing that, but I did, so I got that challenge done. On day 78, I decided to go into a cave alone because we had an easy time in the other caves, but it was a mistake. It was going really well until... That's not good. Not what I was expecting. Not what I was expecting. Not what I was expecting. Huh! I got knocked off my mount from an aberrant raptor and was killed. Good thing this isn't hardcore. I took a long time to die, so I think most of the dinosaurs were lower leveled, and I really just had to hope that my Thyla would kill them all. On top of that, I really had to hope that my Cinnamocrops Nom Nom wasn't passive. I spawned nearby and rushed back to the cave, but guess what? I crashed, and I'm not going to lie, I was pretty mad because even though nothing had died yet, my dinos may or may not be rendered in, so I have no clue if they survived. Eventually I made it back to the cave and nothing was in there. I was able to run all the way to my dinosaurs, and when I got there, Aqua was almost dead, and Nom Nom luckily was on passive so it didn't even take a hit. My body was no longer there, so I assumed at the time that when I crashed, all the dinos got wiped. Maybe the server restarted during that time and that's why I crashed, but I decided not to question it and booked it out of there. Later I did realize that my Thyla had a bunch of weight on it, so it might have looted my corpse, but I don't think that's how it works. Either way, when I got out of the cave, I didn't have a cryopod, so I left the Thylacolio, but I kind of forgot that my Wyvern could just pick it up, but we'll be back for it. I do end up cryopodding it, so we'll never know if it picked up my items, but like I said, I doubt it did. After that experience, I decided to chill out, and on day 80, I painted my armor a copper color because it looked cool. While gathering cementing paste on day 81, I randomly knocked out a Megalodon. I technically already completed the Tame a Water Creature challenge a long time ago, because beavers are considered aquatic creatures according to the Ark Wiki, so get Rexac. However, if you don't think beavers should count as a water creature, I did tame the shark and named it Shrek the Shark. It was now time to tame a rock golem. I scoped out the desert and found a suspicious looking rock that was of course a rock golem.
Look at Randy Orton slithering.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
The next day, I loaded up the cannon and gates and found where I wanted to tame it at. After the gates were placed, we led the Rocky Boy over there and shot it with a cannon. This was my first time ever taming a rock elemental, but after a few correction shots, I finally knocked it out. After it was tamed, I found another one, but since I messed up a shot, I didn't even have enough balls to tame it. I ran out of balls. Day 84 came around and the fabled Basilisk Day was upon us. Just like the rock golem, I had never tamed a Basilisk, so I over-prepared by making a trap. I then went for the last Wyvern egg run. I got a level 150 Lightning Wyvern, which is enough to tame a high-level Basilisk on the server. Also, for style points, I trapped 2 Wyverns instead of 1 this time. I wasted pretty much all of day 85 trying to find a Basilisk, and after I crashed again, I decided to get a Snow Owl to help me. But first I killed this Alpha Carno and I got the first Ascendant tool of the 100 days. I still needed 2 more Ascendant items and I only had 15 days left. After quite a bit of struggling, I managed to paratrooper myself into knocking out the Snow Owl. When I went back to the volcano, I found the Basilisk almost immediately. It started chasing me, but then got stuck on something, so I decided to slide the egg behind it. I saw the egg disappear and I thought for a moment that it didn't tame, but when I checked on it, it was tamed. On day 87, I realized that if I didn't start hatching the Rex eggs, there wouldn't be enough time for me to level them up, so I started hatching them immediately. In hindsight, I should have focused on this more, but I had 49 other challenges to do and I only needed to beat the boss on Gamma. We got a bunch of air conditioners down and now it was time to wait. I used that time to get materials for a bunch of cryopods again and grind materials for the last time. While I was out, I got lucky for the second time and got another ascendant item. Day 89 started pretty chaotically because all the Rexes hatched at once when I wasn't paying attention. I had to scramble to cryopod them all so they wouldn't starve to death. After enough time, I moved them all into a circle and I had enough food to keep them all alive. Due to ARC servers temporarily going down, I couldn't do much until day 91, which was spent gathering meat for the Rexes and making gear for my friends who would be going into the boss fight with me. I then decided to go and try and loot a deep sea drop. I still needed one more ascendant item and I wanted to get a Rex blueprint to make the boss fight easier. I got to use the boat for the first time in forever and I took Shrek out for a spin. Shrek, however, was getting dumpstered on and didn't have enough weight to bring down the dinosaur trap. I then started taming multiple dolphins and we had a posse of sea creatures. I started placing a trap, but when I looked up, I saw a shark attack coming my way. We fought them off or knocked them out, and I managed to trap a level 150 Megalodon in the trap. At this point, I realized the drop wasn't there, and we headed back home. While going home, I decided to risk it all and fight the Alpha Megalodon. The only surviving creatures were the main characters Shrek and Vault Hunter. However, when I was offline, Shrek starved to death, so this is just a reminder that plot armor does not exist in Ark. On day 93, I realized that we still didn't have a Uranus, so I went out to tame one. However, when I say I could not find a good leveled Uranus, I mean it. And yes, I killed every Uti I saw.
Another one. Another one. Another one.
Ooh, I found one. I murdered everything in the area and started tranquilizing the Uti. I had to wait for it to exit the pond, but then it fell into this valley. I almost knocked it out next to the wyvern pit, but then this happened. I thought about trying to knock it out in the pit, but then I decided to go find a different one. I went home and crafted more tranks and came back to find more low-level UDs.
Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one.
Oh my god, that one doesn't suck. Since it was day 94, I decided to just get this Uranus because we were running low on time. It was a bit difficult to get it on its own, but eventually I knocked it out. In the water. But it wasn't drowning, so we were good. Until it randomly drowned! Third time's the charm, right? Ooh, that's not bad. I'll save you all the pain of me chasing it down the mountain and just skip to this. So PlayStation has a really bad no-reg problem. Which I hate. It's gotta still be near that tree, right? Where'd it go? It's gone. It's gone. Take me to your leader. Oh, I see it. I found the disappearing Yudi, and this time after I knocked it out, it didn't get itself killed. I named it Accident because I asked someone earlier what I should name it, and they said Accident. It fits well because we had 2 accidents earlier. I also should mention now that Chris got a Daedon earlier, but I can't remember when that happened, so here's the Daedon. The Rexes were getting close to growing up, so I took a look around the place. I looked at all our dinosaurs we have collected and checked on our tribe mates. I also took an aerial view of the place and looked at my low-rendered PlayStation home. This is what 95 days in Ark looks like, minus the dinosaurs we've lost, boats we have crashed, and things we have left behind. However, continuing on, the reason I named our high-level shark Vault Hunter is because we will be going for the deep sea drops. The hope is to get another Ascendant item to complete the 3 Ascendant item challenge. However, that doesn't come to fruition, and instead I just waste my time killing things in the ocean. I did hit level 90 at some point during this, so we can check that off. Day 96 was me getting the final artifacts. This time I did my research and I realized that the cave I died in was not the cave I needed to go through. So I went to those caves and shotgunned my way to victory with Aqua the Thyla. When I got home, I crafted some Ascendant fur leggings using all the pelt that I got from massacring Uranuses. One of the last harder challenges have now been completed. There are now only 3 challenges left. We need to beat the boss, knock out a dino with 2 other players while spinning on a Tapahara, and break a club on somebody's forehead while yelling, Among Us. So in reality, the only difficult one is beating the boss. I spent all of day 98 and 99 leveling the Rexes, Daedon, and Uranus. During this time, I also collected the trophies so we can actually get into the boss fight. And just like that, it was day 100. We have 3 challenges left, but in reality, if we beat the boss, we win the 100 days. Coincidentally, it was the last day of the server, which meant I had to do it now. Because of work, I had been awake for 20 hours and was waiting for someone to get on. However, the only person available was Prince, so I did the break a club on someone's forehead challenge, Among Us! And then we moved all the dinosaurs to the blue obelisk and got ready. The plan is basically to have me on the Uranus buffing up all our dinosaurs, while he protects me on the T-Rex. It is now time to enter the boss fight. There we go. Alright. Attack it.
I can't move. Ow! I'm off my dino. I got yeeted.
Get on a different one, doesn't matter which one.
I'm getting on out then.
Okay, all our dinosaurs are not doing what they should. Yeah, but we kind of...
I was
yeah,
killed.
that's why I don't want you attacking it, because he pierces through the T-Rex. Alpha 8 is doing your job. Not completely, there's still a few idiotic dinosaurs over there. Let me on anything. Oh my god, they're all dying. Missile neutral, okay. There's 0 chance of winning at this point. Six shotgun shells. And just like that, we lost. After 100 days, we beat 48 out of the 50 challenges. The Tap a Heart challenge is really easy, but since I was just tired, I got off for the day. I was a little salty after losing to the boss, so I didn't bother waiting for someone to get on just to complete one more challenge. I do know where it probably went wrong. Basically, I messed up the whistles, and since I stopped buffing our dinosaurs, they took massive damage. If I didn't leave the fight to go move the T-Rexes back onto the boss, we probably would have won. I didn't show it earlier, but I told Prince not to go onto the boss because the grenades would kill him, but he forgot and died to them anyways. Just remember that he is new, so don't blame him. I think if he would have survived, he would have been able to move the Rexes back onto the boss while I buffed up our dinosaurs, but it's okay. In the end, 4 of the Rexes actually survived, so if I would have gotten away from the murder monkey, I could have rounded them up and killed the boss, but those things take way too much damage for me to have killed with my shotgun. Anyways, no hate on Prince, he was the only one available that day. Up until he died, the boss fight was going great, but once he made that small mistake, it was just over. I really just needed the Rexes to focus on the boss, which I did whistle onto the boss, but they did go off of the boss for some reason, and that's just how it is. Anyways, I can't end the video without the punishments, so here we go. I can't immediately eat it or else I'm gonna throw on the last bite. Anyways, I'm done. I'm sorry. Victory music, I don't care. I'm done with this. I'm gonna go, like, brush my teeth. Anyways, in the description will be a link to the unlisted video of me eating the sandwich. I decided not to put it all there just because this is funnier. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and tell me what you want to see next. I really hope this video does well because it took me 200 plus hours to make and it was a lot longer than my other videos. I'm really disappointed that I messed up the boss fight, but that's just how it is. However, next time we won't mess up the boss fight, and maybe, just maybe, we will live to see 100 days.